Welcome to episode 393 of the KissFAQ Podcast. This weekend we're live, and it's all Daniel's fault. So we've got five guys on the screen today. Obviously, Daniel Wee's on the board. Lonnie St. Louis Kiss. Ken, the voice of reason. And a new face. Obviously, Daniel Wee's on the board. Lonnie St. Louis Kiss. Ken. Who's played the frickin' show?
I do hear. I hear a repeat of the whole thing.
I hear an echo.
Yeah, so there's the echo, and we'll just work through with it while we figure out who's causing it.
I don't think it's me.
But for now, we're going to talk about Gene Simmons, the best of Gene Simmons. And Daniel, this was your subject, your topic, I think, or was it one I stole from the board? Let's go around the table and just say, initial thoughts on Gene Simmons. What does he mean to you in the band before we talk about any of his external activities? Let's start with the new face, Anton.
Well, I mean, Gene was my introduction to Kiss. The first album I ever had was the Gene Simmons solo album. I got all four at once, but Gene's was the one that, obviously popped out to me as a young child with the blood in the face, and his was the first album I put on. I liked Ace's better, but Gene's was the first one I went to. And Gene was like, I don't know. He's always been a big part of it. The first time I met them, it was most exciting for me to meet Gene. And I've met Gene more than the rest of them. And I don't know if I can put it into words any more than that. I think Gene's awesome.
Yeah. What color Kool-Aid do you drink generally for the band?
Multicolored swirls. I drink all the Kool-Aid. I believe everything they tell me.
Yep. Depends on mood, right?
Yes.
There you go. Ken, you're known to be a Gene fan.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us your overview of Gene Simmons, the man, the myth, the legend?
My overview? Oh. Well, I mean, even from the beginning when I first, bought Alive 2 and saw his bloodied face on the cover, and that was part of the draw. Not necessarily the blood, but just evil. It was just something sinister. It was kind of cool, like Dracula and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've always gravitated towards his music, even for Kiss. A lot of people don't, but I've always liked it. I think he's a very good songwriter and writes a lot of stuff that is not, copy of himself, or it's not always expected, I guess. So, and then other things, back then when I was reading about, Gene Simmons and saying, he was a school teacher for a while and this and that, and he, didn't drink or smoke and that sort of thing. I was like, it's kind of impressive. You don't hear that from a rock star, that they don't drink or smoke and that sort of thing. So yeah, I've always been a big fan. I've always followed Gene the most of the original members and the newer members, and it's great when I've gotten to meet him a couple of times.
Yeah, I've always had an affinity for Gene. He's a demon, but he's an immigrant. So I share that with him as someone who came to America. And that's about as much as I share with him, because I certainly haven't had 4,600 entries on my pistol notch.
No?
No, and I'm not braggadocious like Gene is, but I've always liked his casual arrogance. Sometimes it's overbearingly embarrassing. Sometimes you're just like, yeah, that hits it on the head. So I think you touched on the most important thing to me musically about Gene is some of his influences that he's got and some of the really off the wall batshit crazy that he does musically. So he's turned into a little bit of Grandpa Munster for me, but still entertaining, still, I guess, grumpy old man. Lonnie, Gene Simmons to you.
Gene meant a lot to me. I became a Gene guy like when the reunion happened and they put the makeup back on. Prior to that, it was more about Paul, and it changed to Gene when that happened, just because Gene really became the face of Kiss again when they put the makeup back on, and it was more about Gene and the makeup. And stuff that you would see on either MTV or any kind of news outlets or articles would be more geared toward Gene at the time. So when they put the makeup back on, it kind of changed me more into a Gene guy. And I'm with Ken that the songs that he wrote are very underappreciated, and I think we really got a dose of that with when The Vault came out, and what was heard on there was really kind of eye-opening, I think, to a lot of fans. Like, oh wow, this is really good stuff. Why wasn't this on a Kiss record? You could say that about multiple songs on there. So I think Gene is, as much as Gene is the face of Kiss, even though a lot of us know that Paul really kind of steers the ship. I think at the same time, Gene is kind of underappreciated element, even though he is the face of the band. So, really proud of his contributions to the band and what he has meant to the history of the band.
Good day, Craig. Thanks for joining us. I'm Richard. Daniel, what does Gene mean to you?
Well, I have to second Ken on the bloody face Gene. I mean, first time I came across that face, Gene, sweaty and bloody, I was blown away looking at that cover. And the character that he was back in the 70s hasn't been, topped since. I guess those guys from Sweden, Ghost, they tried a bit, being... have a secret identities and that kind of stuff, but you couldn't really match Kiss in the 70s. And Gene was scary and had some awesome songs back in the day. So that character that he was in the 70s, I think it's the best character ever in rock music if you're into the visuals. In later years, I was always a Paul guy from the mid 80s, but in the last, let's say, 15, 20 years, it's become pretty obvious that Gene is the one that is easier to like than Paul, so to speak, because Gene seems still kind of down to earth, I think, and he's very good with fans. He appreciates the fans, and while Paul has strayed away and has become, it's harder to like him at this point in time. So Gene he's just a cool guy, and I like his work ethic and the way he conducts himself most of the time.
All right, so let's get into some of these external Kiss projects that Gene has been involved with. Anton, there you go.
Either way, they both work.
Yeah, I knew it'd happen eventually. But when you look at Gene's outside business ventures and some of the things that he's been involved in over the years, going straight back to the 70s, he started branching out into producing other artists, and then acting, and then everything that he's done since. What are some of the most important things to you that have interested you in what he's done outside of the band, and what are the ones that you immediately kind of disregard and ignore?
Well, I'd say as far as a personal thing, the ones that that I latched onto earliest would have been like his film roles and like Runaway and Never Too Young to Die. I enjoyed those movies and watched them a bunch when I was a kid, just because it's Gene. He's doing something different. He's doing movies. This will be fun. And so I don't know exactly how successful we would consider those to be, but they were fun for me. And then also, his Simmons Records, his record label. I was always interested in checking out anything that was on that label because it was Gene's label, even though I didn't ever really like anything that came out that he put out. So yeah, his entertainment related stuff for me, personally, whether any of that was actually successful at all. The Wendy O. Williams album is great. That's like a lost Kiss album, and that's pretty much Gene bringing all his stuff to the table to help out Wendy, and so yeah, his music and entertainment related stuff. I think that's what he's best at.
Right. So when we go through all these different things, activities that he's done outside of Kiss, I'm going to ask you for your best one of that kind of area, and then at the end we'll all figure out which we think is the best of Gene outside of Kiss. Not necessarily the most successful in some cases, but I don't think anyone will be too surprised. Lonnie, where have you enjoyed his projects the most outside of Kiss? And
Well, I can't say his movies. I really can't. I don't remember them coming out because they came out and I was pretty young, and I remember I bought them on DVD and went back and watched them. And while Runaway is decent, the others really kind of fall short of the mark. So it can't be his movies. To me, it's not Asshole either. I really struggle with that. I mean, that album actually came out the same day that Velvet Revolver's debut came out, and I remember I went to the record store and I bought both of them at the same time. And I got back in the car. I'm like, what do I put on in the car? And something about I just knew what Asshole was going to be. So I put in Velvet Revolver and I drove back to work when I went on my lunch break. So, but to me, it has to be Gene Simmons' Family Jewels. I mean, look what it did. Not only for his image, but say what you want about the show, but look what it did for the public's eye of Gene Simmons and the band for that matter. I mean, we saw the attendance figures in 2004 when they toured America, and they weren't great. And then they didn't tour America in 05, 06, 07, 08. They did some tours. They did that European tour in 08, which was very successful. They toured Australia in 08, which is very successful. They did like some one-off shows in the US in 05, 06, 07. And that was really about it. Because I think they were worried, and Ticketmaster and Live Nation were worried, is Kiss really going to be able to draw? Because they haven't drawn. And before the 2004 tour, they toured with Aerosmith. It was a co-headlining tour. And they were the first band on. So then they announced in 09 that they're going to tour America, and it was really just Kiss. It wasn't a co-headlining thing. Yeah, Buck Cherry opened, which was pretty popular at the time, but it wasn't by any stretch of the imagination a co-headline or anything like that. And I was like, okay, well, how's this going to go? And that tour sold fantastic across America in 09. And what was it? Yeah, they put out an album, but only us hardcore Kiss fans really gave a crap that Sonic Boom came out. The rest of the people there really couldn't care less. I think the Gene Simmons Family Jewels really did a lot for the popularity of the band. And if you look back, the Osbournes did a whole lot for Ozzy at the time too. Ozzy had huge successful tours while that was going on. So Family Jewels is, when I think about Gene, what Gene has done outside of Kiss, I think Family Jewels and not only what it did for him, but what it did for the band at the same time as well. Because it generated a whole new generation of Kiss fans at the same time.
But Lonnie, is it your favorite Gene project?
Is it my favorite?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I thought it was.
Maybe because of what it did for the band, what it did for the popularity of the band.
Because
okay. Because it revitalized my band. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, let's go through these one at a time. Let's start with recorded output, and whether it's Gene Simmons' solo album in 1978 or in 2004, 3. When did Asshole come out?
4.
No. 4.
Was it 04?
4.
Dorks.
Whenever it was that it came out, do you think that either Gene Simmons' solo recording can be considered his finest work outside of Kiss, Daniel?
If we talk about what he recorded, I was never really a Gene fan when it comes to the solo albums. You have to remember, I think the first time I came across a cool picture of Gene was that Alive 2 shot. And when I put on the Gene Simmons album, as many others did, we thought it would be God of Thunder, and I guess the first time I listened to that album was in the mid 80s, sometime around there. So I thought it would be War Machine, God of Thunder fits like a glove. It wasn't really that. So I didn't like that album at all. Ace's album I liked, Paul's as well. But in later years, I've come to appreciate it a bit more. Man of a Thousand Faces, See You Tonight is a beautiful song. I mean, he has some beautiful songs on there, but as an album, I think I prefer it over Peter's album, but it's just the third after Ace and Paul. So, and if I would put up my 15 favorite Kiss albums, you wouldn't see Gene Simmons 78 or Asshole anywhere near those 15 albums. So when it comes to his recordings, I'm not really sure if I enjoy his solo projects. I think most of his songs were greatly improved if he worked with someone else. For example, in later years, Unholy, when he worked with Vinnie Vincent, then he really was able to create some great stuff. And in the 80s, when you hear the demos for some of his songs to Lick It Up, you do understand what kind of input Vinnie Vincent had on those songs. Like Fits Like a Glove is one. I always mention that because I like that one. But the demo is like really simple, and then I guess he added Vinnie, and out came this great song. So when it comes to his recordings, I wouldn't rate them really high at all.
Okay.
I'm sure Ken will rate them higher.
Yeah, so I guess that's a thumbs down for Gene's recorded solo output as his greatest external venture. That's fine. Ken, Daniel pointed fingers at you. Is his recorded work his greatest external venture to you?
Well, external venture. I mean, we're not counting the vault, right?
We're leaving the vault as a
or it's its own. That's its own thing, right?
Yeah, it's
that's kind of a bigger thing, right?
AKA
so yeah, as for the Gene Simmons, his music outside, I always loved Gene Simmons' solo album from the first time I heard it, and I was into Kiss for about a year at that time when I first bought the album in '78. That was the one I liked the most at the beginning. Now I came to listening to the other ones. I started liking them, better. Aces, of course, is always, high up there with everybody. It's, the straight ahead rockers and stuff like that. And Paul's a little bit more like Kiss itself, but yeah, Gene Simmons branched out and did his own thing. And, I got to give him credit for, it's taking risks, really. He's not scared to take risks.
No.
And that was a risky thing, not making every song on that album God of Thunder, which he, of course, didn't write. But if you think about it, Daniel, Great Expectations, you may not like Great Expectations, but I come to appreciate it more now than I did back then. That's a song that could have ended up on his solo album in '78 and that sort of thing. So I don't know if it's his greatest thing. I wish he would have done more solo albums, to tell you the truth, based on what we've heard off the vault.
But Ken, when we talk about the vault, Ken, he had a lot of material for Revenge and Carnival of Souls that I think you liked. What if he had released something in the 90s, and just prior to the reunion?
I would have liked that. I mean, it would have been, I think, cool, if he chose the right, songs, of course, and made it consistent, right? But it is what it is. But I like that. I've always liked Gene Simmons' solo stuff, so it is what it is. I don't know if it's his greatest accomplishment. I think we're going to get to that later. I think when we talk about maybe the vault.
All right, Anton, we always have to have a musician chime in with something intelligent when we're talking about someone's music. So Gene Simmons solo albums, either and or, do you rank them as his greatest external contributions or successes?
I mean, the '78 solo album is great for me. I mean, I think it's great songwriting. I think "Man of a Thousand Faces" is one of his greatest songs.
Cool song.
When I had an opportunity to participate in the Q&A in the Nashville Vault, that's what I asked him about, the writing of "Man of a Thousand Faces," and but just all the Beatles influenced stuff on that album, because I love the Beatles, so it was great hearing him really explore that influence on him in ways that he hadn't really had a chance to do with Kiss. "See You Tonight," "Mr. Make Believe," I love all those songs, and hearing more stuff on the Vault in that vein, like "Dreamer" and things like that, and then "Guilty Pleasures" for a later era one, and that's, I asked him directly. I said, did Paul reject that song for either Sonic Boom or Monster? Because it could have been the going blind of the modern era. And Gene just gave me this look like, he knows it could have been a great Kiss song, but Paul didn't like it. So, but yeah, the '78 album I love. "Asshole" I don't love as much because it's not really Gene. It's more like it's a Bag album with Gene on vocals. And if you've ever heard the Bag album without Gene on vocals, it's god awful. So, I like the songs with Bruce and Eric on that because it sounds like Kiss songs. "Sweet and Dirty Love," "Carnival of Souls." What was the other one? There was "Weapons of Mass Destruction." Those.
Why do you have that?
Those. I enjoy those songs off "Asshole," but most of "Asshole" I'm not a big fan of because it's not really Gene. It was him farming out music to mostly Bag and him throwing some vocals on it. The '78 album is Gene. It's his thing, and it's his personality, all facets of it, and I love it. I love every song on that album.
I was in shock when I heard "When You Wish Upon a Star," but I guess Ken loves that song, or
well, as a little kid,
because of his immigrant background, but as a song, you love Gene doing "When I Wish Upon a Star." Is that true? You do.
That song, I mean, the first time I thought, what, it was a, crazy kind of thing, like, why is he singing that, but, then you realize later on what it was all about.
But you didn't know that.
But I kind of wish he would have sang it in not, I guess he was tearing up or whatever when he sang it. And so it's not his best vocal. We know he can sing pretty darn good, and I wish he would have recorded it without the emotional part of it, so much. I think it would have been a little bit better version of the song if just a straight vocal.
Yeah, I don't think you need to understand the context of "When You Wish Upon a Star" to find it quirky or odd. The demon is the demon, and there's him doing something weird, regardless of, his immigrant background or any of that. That became apparent later. Lonnie, what's your take on Gene's external project? And I guess it's always an icebreaker. You go up to a Kiss convention or to people, and you just say, "Do you like Asshole?"
What kind of convention? Depends on what kind of convention you're asking that at. But I think, I'm with Daniel in the fact that my brother bought Gene's '78 solo album when we were kids, and we were both expecting 10, or whatever songs of God of Thunder, War Machine. Like, oh, this is going to be great.
But Lonnie, the intro, Lonnie.
The intro is fantastic. And we're like, here we go.
Best thing on the album.
Best thing on the album. We're like, here we go. This is going to be fantastic. I mean, it sounds so dark and evil and satanic, and I can't wait for it. This is going to be great. And we're both looking at each other. Is that Gene singing? Like, we were convinced for the longest time that Gene didn't sing on his solo album, that it wasn't even him singing. Because that's not what Gene sounds like. As kids, we were convinced of that. So, and then, as we got a little bit older, we're like, okay, that is Gene singing, but it was not. But and I've grown to like the album more and more over the years. And I'm with you guys at Asshole. I don't like Asshole. So is it his greatest accomplishments? No. I think that I I'm with you guys that I wish there could have been more Gene solo albums that could have released some of that material that we've heard on the Vault in a better manner to showcase the songwriter that he is. I think the '78 album, as much as I've grown to like it over the years, I think it still falls short of the mark when you compare it with what Paul and Ace put out in '78. I don't think you can put it up there with Paul's and Ace's, and what he put out in '04. Just no, I'm with you guys. It doesn't even count.
Yeah, so Gene Simmons solo music. I'm actually disappointed with Gene that he hasn't had as many songs out there in recent years. You know, since 2000, Paul's had stuff like Blood Type R, Placed with Bands, the song placed with, what was it, the Click 5. You know, he did songwriting and tried to do it outside of the band. Gene seemed to just put his songs with the bands he was producing in the 80s. So, you know, when I take the two albums, I don't think they are his greatest, you know, accomplishment as an artist. You know, both of them I like because they are Gene being Gene, that they are unpredictable. Even Asshole, for its failings of too many songs that were purchased from external artists, the ones that he does himself that came from his blender are still, you know, pretty Gene type songs. And I think the point about the Vault, well, it's his own other kind of subject, is that it would have been nice for him to record some of those songs properly as a solo album, in full proper quality. There's so much in there that just seems to be a waste. It's like you've written all these songs and then you just basically put them out on a Vault, essentially throwing them away, because, you know, there weren't as many people who bought the Vault as consumed it for free and consume it for free on YouTube, which, you know, it doesn't bother me, but it would have been nice for him to have given his art a little bit more respect than he seems to. But it seems to be part of his mentality towards songwriting and music, that it's all very disposable into what it accomplishes for him at that moment. Let's move into that other area.
But before we go into the Vault and all kinds of stuff, I would like to hear a little bit about what people think about his acting skills. We went through that real fast.
That was where I was going.
Oh, sorry.
Who's in charge here?
Daniel's in charge. Daniel, lead us into the acting.
I'm just a fan. I want to know what other fans like. I'm totally into what fans think about Gene Simmons. So I want to know what they think about the acting career. You know, we mentioned it at the top of the show, but I need some more information.
Okay,
so, Julian, sorry,
who are you asking?
I'm not in charge. You're steering the ship
All
through
right,
the stormy seas.
All right, Ken, get us started on Gene's acting career.
Gene's acting career.
Is that something that you can consider his best?
No, of course not. Yeah, he dabbled.
All right, well, that's the topic. Next topic.
Okay.
Wait,
Thanks,
what?
Ken.
What the heck? All right, so yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of cool that he, you know, was acting, and he, when he did Runaway, you know, I saw that like the day it came out at the theater.
Oh my God.
I saw it in the theater.
I saw it in the theater. And so yeah, it was cool. I thought actually the movie wasn't bad. I mean, it's kind of, you know, very dated for sure, but it was all right. And I liked, you know, Tom Selleck was all right, of course. But yeah, I mean, the thing is with Gene is he was being, you know, typecast into that. yeah, I overpaid. But I actually paid, believe it or not. You know, it's my well-earned money, you know. But yeah, it was an entertaining movie, and he was good for that part, I have to say. But yeah, some of his other stuff, you know, when he did, you know, Velvet von Ragnar,
that's terrible.
It's like dressing as that. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of shocking. He really though got himself into that role. You got to admit. But yeah, his acting is just something extra that I think he thought he could do, or it was something that he wanted to, you know, try to do. And obviously it didn't really turn into too much. He did a few movies here and there and some TV stuff. But Yeah, he's better. Stick to or stay in your lane, I guess, is the thing. As far as music is, stay in the lane and record music and tour and that sort of stuff.
Okay, Johan. No, it's a promo. And Gene's acting is to acting as Yoko Ono's vocals are to singing. Anton, what's your take? Haven't you watched Never Too Young to Die recently?
Oh, I just purchased the Blu-ray. I haven't actually watched it yet because
There you go.
I'm still working
do it.
myself up to Velvet Von Ragnar in high definition is going to be something.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, when I was a kid, I thought he was great. I really enjoyed Runaway. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
I bought the VHS tape. I watched it a bunch. I thought Never Too Young to Die was fun and interesting. I mean, I was a kid. What can I say? His acting's not the greatest now that I'm a little more cultured and have watched more movies, but I still enjoy it for the nostalgic factor. Trick or Treat, I love that movie, not for Gene really, just for the whole, capturing of the 80s metal scene in a movie. And, I watch that movie at least once every year or two, probably every year around Halloween. That's one of my October movies. And Gene was great in that, even though he's just a small part in that. He was really good in that. And I mean, a drug lord on Miami Vice, he was good in that. He's got some acting skill. He's not as good as he thinks he is, but he's a good character actor.
Okay, Anton, who's a better actor, Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley?
I mean, I got to give it to Gene. What has Paul even done? Remind me what Paul has even done.
Millennium.
The Folgers commercial.
Well, I guess I know he likes coffee, so he's believable,
All right, Lonnie, Gene is an actor.
Well, fun and interesting is a great way to describe Never Too Young to Die. Fun and interesting. But Gene's acting. No, it's not fun. It's not fun nor interesting. Gene's acting career for me, I don't know. I mean, it always seemed like kind of a joke that he's out there doing these movies in the 80s. It's just like, what are you doing? Stick with what works. You know what I mean? I mean, find something that you're good at doing and do it. I understand the lure of Hollywood was big for him, but come on. Runaway's halfway decent. And when I mean halfway decent, I don't think I've watched it in 20 years. So, I mean, it's right. I know.
Fan are you?
I call myself a Kiss fan. But, I mean, it's Saturday night. I want to watch a movie. I'm not going to sit down and watch Runaway or Wanted Dead or Alive. I'm just not going to do it. I think there's about 200 movies I'd watch before I'd watch one of those movies. So no, it falls way short of the mark for me. I think the whole Gene wanting to be an actor thing was silly. I mean, here, a guy that could pull off, hey, I'm going to go and be an actor. Here, The Rock, he pulled it off. He was a wrestler, and now he's going to go be an actor. That guy pulled it off. Well, because what is wrestling? Half the time it's scripted.
It is
acting to begin with. So he could do it. But Gene wanting to be an actor, to me, it's just silly. And I can't do it.
All right, Daniel.
I think you all guys must have forgot about Wanted Dead or Alive. I mean, Marak al-Ahim, the mean Arab terrorist. I think Gene nailed that part. I think that's his best performance ever. Well, it's not the best movie, but he totally stole the show from Rutger Hauer. I mean, if you think about that movie, you think about Marak al-Ahim. And in hindsight, that kind of problem with Arab terrorists, they were a bit before their time, because after 9/11, what happened. But I think he nailed that role. I think he was great in that role. And it was a process, Runaway, it was kind of cool in that movie. And that Velvet, the things he did. What was I don't even remember the name. When he played the transvestite, what was the name of that movie?
Never Too Young to Die.
Never Too Young to Die, yeah. that was just terrible. But I think he improved over time, and in Wanted Dead or Alive, I think he did a great performance, and I think he could have taken that a bit further if he was given the chance. So that's about the only movie I still kind of enjoy watching. It's not a great movie, but I think Gene did a great performance. He was a bit more subdued than in Runaway, but you have to remember, Gene is a movie buff. I mean, when you hear interviews with him, he can say, "Well, I watch 2-3 movies a day," and he comes from the 40s, 50s horror movies. So at times people have said that he's overacting, but I think he kind of mimics the roles that he enjoyed. You have to remember that when in the early movie years, people acted more like in theater. You had to show the moves so the people in the back understood what you were doing. Like Bela Lugosi, I guess, was a big influence for him. Dracula. So he stole from him, and I think he managed to do it real well in Wanted Dead or Alive. But other than that, I don't think he did a lot. But in the later years, he did a small part in the movie where he's played some sort of lawyer. Joe, do you remember? Yeah. The movie kind of sucked, but the only part that was memorable was the Gene stuff. He was talking about smashing some guy's nuts in a door, and he was overacting, but he was funny. He was solid. So I think he got some skills. I think he's a pretty good actor, and unfortunately in the 80s there weren't a whole lot of good movies that he got to be a part of. But I think you should give Wanted Dead or Alive a second chance. It's a good performance by Gene.
Well, at least watch the ending.
His best acting was his best acting is actually on Gene Simmons' Family Jewels.
Oh.
Seriously, I mean, some of it is a lot of it was staged. Just stories.
And that's a spoiler for that section of the show, Ken. Thanks a
That's
lot.
not talking
I'm
crazy.
sorry.
Just ruined it. Oh man.
One thing we've overlooked from Runaway was his amazing capacity to regrow his hair for the Animalized tour.
Oh yeah, with that headband.
Now that's talent
too, right?
I never enjoyed any of his acting in the 80s. Wanted Dead or Alive is probably the most memorable. Never got through Runaway. Never, ever. I figured they all should have quit acting after the first screening of Kiss Meets the Phantom. Because since then, none of them have done exceptionally well. I think Peter probably wins it for the most convincing acting scene. And Ace did a pretty good job as well in that one brief thing that he did. But I've still got a copy of Millennium, I think, that the DVD for that episode that's unopened. I never have had the inclination to rewatch that either. Oh yeah, there's a good one. An honorable mention for Red Surf, and of course him playing a drug dealer in Miami Vice season 2. All right, let's get out of the what ruined his contributions to Kiss in the 80s into what also ruined his contributions to Kiss in the 1980s, and that's Gene's external productions. He produced a ton of acts. Anton's already mentioned Wendy O. Williams. There were, of course, Black and Blue as well. Who else did he ruin? Keel. Keel was already... Doro. That's actually a good album. Easy-O.
Yeah, Easy-O.
So do you think that... Anton, back to you. Do you think his job as a producer is his greatest accomplishment?
No, it seemed like he was producing albums as an excuse to get more of his songs published and recorded by these bands, because that's where a lot of his outtakes ended up on the Doro album and the Keel albums and the Black and Blue albums, all filled with the songs that Paul rejected from 80s Kiss albums.
Just think of the songs of those artists that he kicked off for his own filler.
I mean, we probably aren't missing out on anything too great. So
I don't know. Suspicious ending up as
but that was his song though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suspicious doesn't get on Crazy Nights. It ends up on a Black and Blue album.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It would have been better as Kiss stuff. But yeah, I agree.
I mean, Paul must have hated his guts in the 80s.
Paul didn't want Gene's best stuff on the album, so Paul could be better than Gene.
All right, Ken.
My theory. But anyway.
I agree.
His production. I love the Wendy O. Williams one. I mean, obviously that's the best one of the bunch, right? He tried to keep those heavy drums and that sort of stuff that was from, Creatures of the Night and so on. So, I mean, some of the other ones, I bought all those albums. Gene Simmons producing. Okay, I bought the album. I kept doing that, but most of them, they were decent production jobs actually. But a lot of those albums were not that great. Though I did like, that Easy-O album. Actually, I did like that a lot. I remember back in the day. But his best thing is Wendy Williams. The rest of them are okay. The Black and Blue and all that other stuff. House of Lords, right? And so on. So yeah, I mean, it's not his best stuff, but like you said, Julian, he's probably is a good way to get some songwriting credits out there and more income coming in to him. In the end, that's what he's wanted to do, is make money. So that's one of the reasons he does all these different things.
Yep. So his production, I think Wendy O. Williams obviously takes the cake, just in terms of that it's basically a lost Kiss album in many ways. But I think his most critical production is probably the Van Halen demo, for what that led to. And while he didn't get to produce anything further, that being, they would have gotten signed anyway. Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
probably at the time.
If you think about what was happening to Quiet Riot, who was their main competitor around the time, Quiet Riot only ended up with a deal in Japan and not worth a damn. Of course, Kevin DuBrow is a bit of a negative versus Dave Lee Roth for that.
Yeah.
But Van Halen certainly was more worthy of it. Lonnie.
The Wendy Williams album is good. The Van Halen obviously is a great point, Julian. But outside of that, I mean, it's more kind of like what are you doing? What are we doing? Type thing. It's a way for him to get some songwriting credits, get that out there. It seemed, I don't know. It seemed like it was like a selfish side project in a way, and for him to kind of get some recognition outside of the band. Again, focus on what you're good at. Focus on your bread and butter, which was Kiss at the time, and make that as good as possible. Because, you can make some extra revenue doing some other things like that. But if Kiss hits a big album, or Kiss has a widely successful tour, well, that's where your money's at. So, to me, I just feel like the acting at the time it goes hand in hand with this producing at the time. It's just like what are you doing type thing. Yeah, the Wendy Williams album is cool, but it's not a go-to for me or anything like that. I don't I'm going to listen to this today type thing. Very, very rarely. So, I kind of put this hand in hand with the acting personally.
Okay, so we've mentioned it. Gene Simmons' Family Jewels. I think even though we've got books and solo stuff and tours and entrepreneurial stuff, it's hard to even think of something bigger with Gene Simmons than Family Jewels running for 6 seasons. For me, I found it nearly impossible to watch. It was just so cornball, just so overly scripted, so contrived. I mean, right to I was out when he was sticking his hand up the ass of a cow. I mean, even though that was clearly not a new experience for Gene. At least this time he was wearing a glove. But I could
It's
not
like a
stand
glove.
family.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand Family Jewels for the most part. Any part of it, it was like, this is not the music. But there were little pieces in there that were gold. There were, when you pick up an acoustic guitar, and that scene in the kitchen where he played
My uncle is a
Rainbow's
raft.
Raft.
yeah, or when he played First Love with Sophie. There were little bits, but they all come back to my love of Gene as a songwriter, musician, rather than giving a toss about his family, because he had no chance of competing with Ozzy Osbourne on pure disaster value. I mean, I didn't watch a lot of Ozzy either, because that was almost like watching a train wreck, and it just felt wrong. It's like rubbernecking.
Crazy Train.
But I don't think anyone will argue that Gene Simmons' Family Jewels kept Kiss in a much larger spotlight than it deserved at the time, and was critically important to a lot of things that they were able to do and, you know, stretch out their career and lead to other stuff. Daniel.
Well, when it comes to Family Use, I have to second you. I didn't watch it a lot. It was painful to watch to me. I mean, too scripted, too obvious. At times, very embarrassing. I mean, Gene walking around in a robe and being lazy. Yeah, and he didn't really contribute anything to the household. His wife seemed to do most of the work, and he just ran around and looked for new projects. So, and it wasn't anything that he came up with. He tried to mimic Ozzy Osbourne's success, of course. So I don't have a lot to say about Family Use. Not my cup of tea. But as Lonnie mentioned, like a half hour ago, it was important for the band. I think it made people interested in the band. So just for that, it was good that they did it. But it's not for me.
Yeah, at least one of those Family Jewels DVDs can. That one looked like it was still in its shrink wrap. There was a special edition of the first series, I think, that came with a music
Season 1.
CD.
Yes.
That was the only one I owned
With
because of the
unreleased
music
songs.
CD. Great songs. Anton, Family Jewels.
Well, I mean, Family Jewels, I can appreciate its existence for bringing us the idea of the Gene Simmons bikini car wash.
It's true.
So if for
That was a
nothing
good
else,
episode.
if for nothing else, it was worth existing so that idea could come out into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very fair point.
Oh, yeah.
Lonnie, you talked about Family Jewels earlier, Lonnie. So
I did. I remember I was excited when it was getting ready to come out, you know, and I remember watching it. I remember watching it like the night it debuted, like in 2006 or whatever it was, and you walked away from it like, okay, that was a little silly, and you know, but I still tuned in and watched the next week and the next week and the next week, and you know, to Julian's point, there were nuggets, you know, in there that really kind of that were for the hardcore Kiss fan, kind of like, ooh, made you sit up on the couch a little bit straighter when it was on, you know. And then Eric would be over from time to time, like, oh, there's Eric Singer, you know, that's kind of cool. I always thought it was strange watching that, where you'd see Sharon go off somewhere, she's out with friends, and Pamela was there. I'm like, that's kind of strange.
Paul's ex-wife.
Paul's ex-wife, Pamela Stanley. I wonder how that sits down the road a little bit. You know, I'm like, here's Sharon up. Here's Shannon up with Pamela Stanley. Like, oh, that's.
Want to see what your money from the farewell tours,
Yeah,
Paul? Tune in next week.
Yeah, that's interesting. I always thought that was quite interesting when that would happen, and it happened quite often too. That Pamela appeared on the show, and I kind of think that kind of rubbed somebody the wrong way, because I don't.
Paul always refused to appear on it, so
correct. They weren't really getting along really good in that time frame. Hence why I know there was no touring during that time frame either. I think it was another part of it as well. But say what you want about the show, it back to my point earlier, say what you want about the show. It did wonders for the band, image wise, for not only people that had been fans of the band. I think it re-energized a certain part of the fan base and brought a new generation of fans. And I can say this is true because I did a meet and greet in 2004 in St. Louis, and there's like 12 of us backstage. Okay. It was really cool. And then I did a meet and greet in Chicago in 2009. And Family Jewels was at its peak. And there were 200 of us backstage at $1,000 a pop. Wow. What's the difference? And you're playing in a sold out
Sonic Boom?
No. Actually, no. Actually, I don't think so. I mean, you're playing at a sold out arena in Chicago, as opposed to a half empty amphitheater a few years ago. It did wonders for the band. Like it or not, corny or not, and sticking your hand up a asshole of a cow, corny or not, it did wonders for the band. So is it its most successful? I think the answer is obviously yes. And I think it's actually my favorite because of what it did for the band. I think not only the 2009 tour, but I think tours after that, it just re-energized the band in the public eye in America.
Thus,
but I just have to add, we've shut down Sonic Boom quite a few times now.
I like Sonic Boom better.
I have to mention personally, for me, it was really important because I had given up on the band. I just saw them as a nostalgia act, just going out on tour, performing the same songs over and over again, and then suddenly new music, and it made me, getting back into the groove and liking the band again. So I think for many people, Sonic Boom was important because it, especially for Tommy Thayer, he before Sonic Boom, he only played other people's songs. Now he sort of could put his stamp on the band. At least for a little bit. So I think Sonic Boom was really important for the band as well. I just want to mention that.
Thank you. Yes, it is. And I don't know if it would have been possible without Family Jewels raising their visibility and all then seeing that there was more interest in the band, and all of a sudden now we'll do an album because there's a possibility of more people. So, it's chicken and egg. Let's talk about another area of Gene's art that he's approached like he's approached his music, that if he likes something, he can buy someone else's song and release it. And this is publishing. He's put out, obviously, Me Inc., Ladies of the Night, 27, Kiss and Make Up, Sex, Money, Kiss, and Gene Simmons' Art of War, which is basically taking Sun Tzu's Art of War and slapping his name on it. Public domain work.
Don't forget On Power.
Yeah. Or
On Power.
Or should we?
Or should we? I mean, Anton.
Well, supposedly he was a New York Times bestseller, right? That was for Kiss and Makeup, so that was probably his most successful one. I've only read the Kiss and Makeup and Sex, Money, Kiss for the behind the scenes Kiss info, and the info about the stories about the music, because that's what I'm interested in. All those other books I don't have and haven't read and really have no interest in. But his first one was a New York Times best-selling book, right? So that would be that. You have to consider yourself successful as an author if you have a book on those charts, right?
Yeah, even if it was ghostwritten. Daniel, Gene is an author.
Yeah, the biography was nothing special, and the big problem for me is seems like he's been using a lot of ghostwriters on a few of his books, like that 27 book, and The Ladies of the Night. I got a friend who was a successful athlete over here in Sweden and an Olympic champion, and I remember people contacting him and wanting him to put his name on stuff, like cooking books and articles and all kind of stuff. And I think that might be one thing with Gene, that people get in contact with him and say, hey, I got this great project. Do you want to be a part of it? You just have to put your name on it, and then we can release it. So I'm not sure how big part Gene has in a lot of his of these projects. Like I think people approach him. You have the soda thing. That soda he had for
moneybag soda. It's on my
moneybag
list.
soda.
Yeah.
And you have the weed thing, and also the alcoholic stuff. The alcohol, the spirits that they've been released in later years. People just get in contact with him and say, put your name on this and let's release it. So I think the only thing he did by him, I don't know how, but the first biography that went in the early 2000s, I think that's his book. Other than that, I'm not sure how much he's been a part of the other stuff. Me, Inc. and that stuff he's a part of, but those are really thin. So, and really bad.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt before I go to Lonnie, and that is, I think Anton is right about New York Times best-selling author for Kiss and Make Up, regardless of it being ghost-written. But I think it's not a solo venture.
Yeah, it's more of a Kiss venture.
It's certainly hit one of his most successful things outside of Kiss, but it's because of Kiss.
Right. It's got his
makeup on the cover.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'll certainly say I only own 2 of his books, and it's Kiss and Make Up and Sex Money Kiss.
Yep.
Lonnie, publisher Gene.
I bought Kiss and Make Up probably the day it came out, and read it immediately. And I think I can say the same thing for Sex Money Kiss when that came out as well. I was excited for the follow-up. And enjoyed both of them, actually, very much so. Gene's was the first autobiography to come out, and the Tongue magazine. I have all my Tongue magazines still in a tote downstairs. Those are worth a lot of money, so I'll be holding on to those for a while. So they're good reads though, and I did buy The Ladies of the Night, which I'm real proud that I own that too, and I think I have Me Inc. also, but. For me, it's those first 2 though, and those are good projects. We're talking about Gene being successful. I mean, those were very successful ventures. Both of those, the Sex Money Kiss and the Kiss and Make Up. The others, they kind of fall, I think, for me after that. And I think he was a little bit jealous of the Ace's book came out and Peter's book came out and Paul's book came out, and when he had put his out about 10 or 12 years prior at that point, it's like, oh. Well, maybe I should have waited a little bit longer to put mine out, but they're good projects though, for sure. As much as I've kind of waved away the acting and the producing, I think at least the first 2 books he put out are good reads, both of them. I think Sex Money Kiss is a good that's a good book, like as a good, very motivational type book to go out there and do your best. If you're going to do something, give your all type message that it portrays. I enjoy both of them.
Better than Backstage Pass is a second kind
for
of
sure.
They're both doing a similar thing, but it comes across as a little bit more more reasonable. All right, Ken.
Yeah. Are you sure? Because you already skipped me on Family Jewels.
Wow.
And you didn't chime up and interrupt? You held up the
said,
DVD. That was your contribution. You were
providing
the eye candy.
That's it.
Are you sure?
Let me just say on the Family Jewels that I did watch it. I was watching everything. I enjoyed it. I was always waiting for something that Kiss, something that led to something with Kiss. I think I remember the one episode where Paul had to be rushed to the hospital. They had that episode,
Mm-hmm.
where Gene had to do the lead vocals on that show. So
So rather
every
than
now
being
and
on
then,
Family Jewels, he went to the hospital.
yeah,
Those are only
Went to the
rumors, Julian.
that heart palpitation thing that he had. So anyway, enough of that. The books.
The important part of that is they have pro shot of that 3-piece show with Gene on vocals, and we need that. Yeah.
I agree. So the books, again, I'm like you guys. The first 2 books are important. I didn't go buy any of the other books. I saw them. I was like, I don't have any interest. Maybe if I was, starting a business or something, maybe one of those other books could have been useful. But I'm not going to buy every single thing that is Kiss related. Though I buy a lot of stuff, but there's a ton of stuff that I just don't buy. I mean, I kind of pick and choose my things. So the 2 books was enough. I think, though, I agree. Gene Simmons should do, and he probably will, another, autobiography, a thorough one, and let out some more, details of stuff that's gone on. Maybe after this tour is done. So.
Yeah, so I skipped you. I'll start with you on this next one. Entrepreneurship and his clothing lines, Moneybag Soda or Moneybag line, Dragonfly. Did you own any Dragonfly?
Oh, I
do. Here we go. But the Canadian pot, I thought he was going to go for that. But anyway, some of the stuff. Do I have any Dragonfly? I don't think I have any Dragonfly stuff, but
I can't imagine buying a cap with that money bag thing. I mean, it looks like a poop.
Yeah, I have bought I have it on the shelf back here, an empty bottle of one of the money bag sodas, and actually the money bag sodas were pretty good. I especially like the root beer flavor. I know he didn't come up with the flavor or anything like that, but at least it was a decent product, and it was enjoyable to drink.
This is the first podcast that has had a costume change in the middle of it.
I only wear this shirt when I want to feel fancy.
Yeah, the Dragonfly shirts, they have some cool ones, Kiss ones and stuff like that.
I have those too, but this is the most ridiculous one, so I had to wear this one.
But that's a bunch of picks, right? Is that picks?
No, it's money bags.
Money bags.
Oh, they are money bags. Okay.
Poop bags.
I got my screen.
My wife's going to be so turned on later when she sees I put this on.
Yeah, so
hey, Mr.
Moneybags in the garage.
It's like false advertisement. He's wearing
that's a powerful
Mr. Moneybags.
That's right. Oh, man.
All right,
So,
Anton
right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gene Simmons, Moneybag,
So,
Dragonfly.
I feel like the only thing that really qualifies as successful is not really a Gene thing, because it would be Rock and Brews, and that's Gene and Paul. That's really seems to be like the only thing that has succeeded and endured. And I guess maybe the mini golf, but that's more of just because it's in Vegas. That hadn't really there's no Kiss mini golfs all around the country. I don't think there's but just the one. And there's two. Okay. But Rock and Brews, there's a bunch of them, and it seems like it's successful, and it seems like it's successful, as its own thing, not because it's a Kiss related thing. But as far as like Gene's stuff on his own, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I bought a couple issues of the Tongue magazine, and that's about it.
All right, Lonnie. You've got your fan club out here.
I think this shirt is self-explanatory. But no, I have a couple of these other shirts too.
What did the shirt cost?
I don't probably. And by 03, in 03, it probably cost like $50 in 03. And that's really expensive back in 03 for a shirt. So maybe more than that. I don't remember. But there's one like this that has like the 4 solo album faces on it.
Right.
And I think I have a Creatures one too. So nice. It's pretty good. pretty good. Pretty proud of it. And there's like shorts too. They're like Destroyer like board shorts and Love Gun like board shorts. I think I have Destroyer ones actually. Might put those on later. My wife's texting me. She's not happy.
Every male has heard that before.
You know, I don't know. I mean, at the time it was fun. I mean, I bought the Dragonfly stuff, and I think a lot of other Kiss fans did too. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot going on in 02, 03 when he was doing stuff like that. And the Tongue magazine at the same time, 02, 03, there wasn't a whole lot going on. There wasn't a whole lot of new Kiss stuff out there to buy. So yeah, I have my Tongue magazines downstairs still. I have these gaudy shirts still. I have these. I'm more willing to. I knew exactly where this was. It took me like 5 seconds to go find this and put it on. You know, where I think I'd have to look a little harder for my DVD of Runaway. So
I know where mine is.
I'll go to Goodwill this afternoon and pick up one of these.
So no, Gene's had some fun outside projects. You know, they some of them have been fun. You know, and between the clothing line, the Tongue magazine, like it was. I think those projects like that I think were fun at the time because there wasn't much else. Like there wasn't anything else going on. There was nothing happening. Is the band done? Is the band not done? We didn't really know. They appear on this Dick Clark thing with Tommy Thayer. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I think projects like this were fun at the time, and they're still fun for me. I think they're good.
All right, Daniel. Clothing, food, soda.
That's just a bunch of shit. I don't have anything to say about that. It's so bad that you can't even fathom. I don't know how it came up with all that stuff, but it was bad. And as Lonnie mentioned, these were some really lean years for Kiss. So I guess out of desperation, he got that shirt. But if that shirt had been released in '96, he would have bought something else. So,
correct.
So I have really nothing to add to that stuff. I just think it was bad.
Good, and that can lead us. I'm going to just for the sake of time, I'm going to combine these last two sections into one, and that's of course the Gene Simmons Vault and Gene Simmons solo band tour. For me, I rank Gene Simmons solo tour performances above Family Jewels as his greatest external accomplishments outside of Kiss. It's double whatever. But because to me, it has always been about the music. We would never have otherwise heard live versions of Charisma, Are You Ready? It's My Life. What else? Almost Human, Got Love for Sale, Wall of Sound, Sweet Pain.
No theme.
Yeah, Boom Boom. She's a European, Sweet and Dirty. And See You Tonight. You know, that really, and getting to, I flew to Edmonton to see that Damn tour. And obviously I went to LA for the Vault. Again, it was the music and everything that both of those things combine into one. I mean, I had tickets for both those other solo shows that got canceled as well. Lonnie, I think you went to one of the live performances, but for me, it really is Gene and his music. Anton, you're holding up your little friend.
Yes.
Yeah, your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, the Vault and the solo tour are the greatest things Gene has ever done outside of Kiss by far, for sure. No matter, definitely because it is about the music for me, for sure. And the tour was awesome. And I wish I had a chance to see it, but I followed it through videos and recordings, and loved hearing all that stuff played live. And I mean, part of why all that stuff is successful is again because of Kiss, because of our interest in Kiss and the music. But definitely. I mean, I've enjoyed the Vault more than any other thing Gene has done outside of Kiss, and I've spent more time with the Vault and listening to those solo shows than I have watching his movies or listening to Asshole or reading his books or any of it. So yeah.
Yeah, or eating at Rock and Brews for that
Or
matter.
eating it, yeah,
we
exactly.
were both at the Vault in LA together. I'm still consuming the Vault. I'm still discovering new things in it. I'm still finding new recordings on YouTube from the dates that he did all over the place. What are those projects, and where do you rank them with his external activities?
Well, I think the Gene Simmons solo tour is just fantastic. I think that's a great thing. Unfortunately, we had you and I had tickets to go to that one that was going to be in Riverside, and it got canceled. That would have been a very cool thing. But and the Vault, we went to that in LA at Capitol Records building, and that whole thing. That's the big thing for me. I mean, it was just the whole package. The music that we never thought we'd hear, all those 60 songs or however many there are.
167.
There you go, 167.
One repeated twice.
Well, there you go, 167 or 66, whichever one. But and then meeting meeting him again, and with a little bit more time. Actually, I was lucky. One of the first ones. I was very lucky to be one of the first to enter into the studio and meet with him, and it had a little extra time, and it was fantastic. The whole thing.
Number 3.
I was number 3 going in right after Julian, number 2. He had to be ahead of me, of course. But I thank him for having the filming of it.
Yeah, they stopped that quickly after that first Vault event. I don't think there are too many people who attended the Vault who actually got to film their whole interaction with Gene and also have the camera running for the changeover between guests. That's a really cool kind of. You've never shown yours publicly. I think mine's up on
no,
on
I don't
YouTube.
think I showed it. Just some pictures from it, but I mean, that was fantastic. And then the show, then him performing a little bit on the stage in front of us, or in the studio, whatever you want to call it. But and then with Ace showing up and Eric showing up and Bruce. Was Bruce there too?
Yeah, Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce was there too.
Eric and Gene.
All 4 of them
live.
were on stage, and that was fantastic. So that was a great thing. I know it didn't sell as what he had hoped to, sell. I mean, it was kind of expensive because you had to buy it as a package for the most part. But I think you could buy it separate, but it was still pretty expensive at that time. Now you can get it for like $500. The last remaining few that are out there, I think they may be gone now. I don't know.
A few thousand.
But yeah, okay. Well, the songs were the big thing. The music, it's always the music, and just to hear a lot of the music that we never heard before was just a great thing.
Yeah, there's even music on that damn Vault that I hadn't heard before. That book is gold. Lonnie, Vault. Solo band.
Vault's incredible, absolutely, incredible, and gives you a new appreciation for Gene as a songwriter, especially those songs that didn't end up anywhere. I mean, we were listening to "Are You Ready" the other day, and my wife and I are just like, "This is better than anything that's on Monster. Like, hands down, anything that's on Monster." And the fact that it's not on there is just pure ridiculous. And she even agrees on that too. I mean, she doesn't really care for the band much, but she's like, this is better than anything that's on Monster for sure. And there's other stuff on there too that, I mean, it's just one song out of the 167. There's a lot of stuff on there that's really, really good stuff, and just makes you appreciate Gene as a songwriter a whole lot more. And the solo band, I was lucky enough to see him back in, it was 2017 that it came through St. Louis, and I never thought I'd see a Gene solo tour. I just didn't know how that would work. I think Paul Stanley translated more to a solo tour type of artist. I just never really thought like, oh, well, Gene, I love Gene, but I don't see him going out on a solo tour. And the fact that he was going to do it, and he just tried a few dates out just to, put a hook in the water type thing. And St. Louis was one of those early ones. And I got to go, and to hear Gene sing songs like Almost Human and Parasite and Plaster Caster and Charisma, Domino live for just like this is better than most Kiss concerts I've seen in the last few years. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Instead of hearing the same songs that I hear live over and over and over again when I go see the band, to see him and hear him just dig just a little bit, not real deep, but just dig a little deeper into the bag and pull out some of those gems. And yeah, he still played I Love It Loud. He still played Cold Gin. He still played Let Me Go Rock and Roll, and that's great. But to just reach a little further into the bag and dig out some of those classics. Like Joe Adele and I walked out of there together, looked at each other like, holy shit, that was amazing. That's better than a lot of Kiss shows I had seen in recent years. So I'd sign up for that coming back to town in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Daniel.
I didn't attend the Vault experience, but as you all know, there's a lot of stuff online. So I don't know. I think it was good that he released all his stuff, so it's out there. However, a lot of it is, leftovers. But there are some interesting stuff. Especially, I enjoyed some of his work for Revenge and Carnival of Souls, and saw the potential in that stuff. But I don't know. I really didn't think it was. I think the idea was kind of cool. I think for once he was first. At least I don't know anyone who had this kind of a idea previously. Maybe there is someone, but I think this was an idea from his own mind, and he didn't copy anyone. But when you look at the Vault experience, it kind of reminds me of the expos going through Europe in the 90s with Peter Criss and Vinnie Vincent and Ace Frehley. They couldn't really deliver. I mean, he had Eric Singer, he had Bruce Kulick, he had Ace, I think, and Peter at some Vault, and he had all the guys there, and Paul Stanley, yeah. But what did they really do on stage? I mean, if you're into it, if you're in it for the music, I think they underachieved greatly. I think I was really disappointed watching Ace being at the Gene Vault, and they barely could play something together. But I guess if you're around fans, talking, interacting with Gene and Ace, I'm sure it was a spectacular thing for you. But when you watch from the other side, it's kind of embarrassing at times. I know that when Vinnie Vincent was there, I mean, just the way he acted was kind of, what's up with this guy? So I was really disappointed when I watched his guests being a part of the Vault experience, because I think it could have been really, really exciting if they managed to, I don't know, rehearse something, play 3 or 4 songs, knew what the hell they were doing. Now it was like, oh, hey, let's play something. Oh, I don't know anything. Do you know anything? No, I don't know anything either, but we can tell some old stories. It was kind of borderline embarrassing at times. So the Vault, not for me. But when it comes to the solo tour, I think it was probably the greatest thing for many years. Here in Sweden, they did the Vault in the morning, and then they had a show in the evening. So it was a great 1-2 punch. So if you were into the Vault, you could go to the Vault, and then you could have the concert experience. So it kind of reminded me of, that last hooray the non-makeup era had in Australia and Japan, or in Australia at least. I think they did conventions, and then they did live shows. So it kind of reminded me of that. And when it comes to the show, I mean, it was, as Lonnie said, when you've been listening to the same old songs over and over again, this was really, really refreshing. And the first time I saw Gene as the leader of a band was, I don't know when they did that tour of South America. I know it was Gene and Sebastian Bach and a few other guys. I guess it was somewhere around 2010, 11, 12. And I was really surprised because, like a guy like Sebastian Bach, he's always been considered one of the best frontmen in hard rock. But he didn't stand a chance next to Gene in South America. Gene stole the show, and I was really surprised. So I remember we did a show many years back when we talked about what if Gene did a solo tour? What songs would you like to hear? And I never thought it would happen. But then it finally happened, and I was in awe. I remember standing next to a guy in a wheelchair, and he was crying. And that says it all. So he thought it was real good, and I thought it was the best concert I'd seen for a few years. Even though some people said it was sloppy. I remember I met one of the authors of the Partner in Crimes books, and he said, "Oh, it was so sloppy." I never thought of that. I thought it was just great, and he had a lot of people on stage. Well, I would have preferred not to have a lot of people on stage, but imagine that guy playing drums for the Gene Simmons band. He was like 15 years old in Sweden. I mean, he will never forget that.
Yep.
And I think it was, if I would pick one thing, it would be the Gene Simmons solo tour. I think it was just awesome. Awesome.
There we go. And that's where we're going to end with does that change anyone's opinion of what the most successful external Gene Simmons solo venture is, now that we've discussed a whole bunch? And I know we've probably missed out on or skirted over stuff like the Tongue magazine. I wanted to say one thing about the guests on the vault. I went to the Las Vegas one as well, where Paul Stanley was a guest, and sitting there for, I think it was like an hour, with them doing their Q&A, their back and forth, that was better than any of the musical things I heard attempted during the vaults, including the one I attended. Just to have Gene and Paul going conversationally at one another, and something that I'd really like. And for other things I'd like Gene to do down the road, I really think he should be hosting a horror flick show where he introduces the movies and then talks about them and what they meant to him. He has never done that on
Creature features.
Creature feature
horror movie podcast.
Yeah, or on a Sirius or whatever, talking about movies, introing them on a one of those channels or whatever, or doing the same for comic books. He's never leveraged the things where he is really a powerful and attractive human being in that way. All right, it's probably going to be between Family Jewels and the solo tour, but time to put your money where your mouth is. Anton, what's the most successful venture for you outside of Kiss, for Gene?
I mean, depending on how we define success, but just as far as for me, for my personal entertainment and enrichment, it would definitely be the vault. And just one quick note as far as like vault special guests, as I went to the Nashville one and standing, knowing the history and the backstory, standing 5 feet from Gene Simmons and Vinnie Vincent together on stage was a head trip. That was crazy. But yeah, for me, it's the vault, definitely.
Yeah, the Nashville Vault was the first introduction of social distancing. Lonnie, what's your vote for Gene's success?
Well, the Vault is great, and while the Gene Simmons solo tour, as much as I sung those praises, I'm still gonna go Family Jewels at the end of the day, even as much as a lot of people didn't like it, just because of how successful it was and what it did for Gene and what it did for the band, not only like in 2009 but years moving forward. And as corny as it was, I'm still going to say Gene Simmons Family Jewels.
All right, I'm not going to say that. Anton.
Gene was willing to get married to promote that show, so
correct.
It was pretty impactful.
So that show led to him being institutionalized. So don't know if that's such a good thing, is it? So I'm going with the music, and it's the Vault and the solo tour. Just the amount of pleasure that I'm still getting off on that stuff all these years later, and I know that there'll be additional recordings coming out. I hope that there was some pro shot eventually. I doubt it. It doesn't sound like that there is, but maybe he'll do some more of that in the future, because I'd certainly be down with it. However, I'm going to say as a caveat, as a politician, that it probably wouldn't have been possible in that form without the success of the Family Jewels, leading to that whole extended career for the band. That I don't think we would have been able to get Vault experiences tagged on to Kiss and touring and all that without the popularity extending. Ken, I'm going to let you have the final word.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for me, it was the Vault. Though I do love watching the Gene Simmons band videos. I think that's another part, kind of an extension of the Vault, which is just kind of the whole thing. And it took a long time for me to get my Vault. I remember I passed up. I went through all the whole thing is just to get it shipped to me, and I kept complaining and stuff, but it worked. It worked out in the end. I got my gift. That came in the Vault. The boot shell.
Yeah, you got it at half price, clearly.
What?
Well, it's only half of it.
Yeah. It's not the whole boot, but
didn't keep up with your installments to get the other half.
That was
at least he got that. He never got his Dubai stuff.
Yeah, that was I never got the Dubai stuff. But I got this, and it was well, worth the wait for the music and for the gift they were putting in. People could get a piece of Kistery or whatever, Gene Simmons warehouse items. Some were better than others, obviously.
His junk, as I know from my vault, which had his Grammy invitation.
You had a music book.
No, it was the alto sax music book for Alive 2, and Gene Simmons awards the Clive Davis after party at the Grammys with one of the numbers missing from the date on the front, and also a Freedom to Rock tour pass. So not terrible. I mean, I've put in some original demo tapes to supplement it, so I'm not going to complain. All right, that's our little walk through the Gene Simmons solo ventures and their success and merits thereof. What are your favorites? What are your least favorites? Who do you agree with? Who do you disagree with? Chime in wherever you've watched this episode. For everyone who's joined us live today, I do want to give you a big shout out. Thanks for joining us. We do appreciate it. I want to do more of these live episodes. And also, if you're catching this show later, thanks for tuning in as well. We appreciate it. We appreciate you giving us your time to listen to our show, to watch us, and the support you give us week in and week out for how many freaking years is it now, Lonnie? Daniel, you started this, Daniel. Yeah. It's all your fault.
It's my fault. I invented it.
January 15, we started this.
I invented it.
Yeah, so now we're in the year.
I know that Lonnie knows the date.
It's like January. Was it like January 15th? It was January of 15.
Yeah,
I have no clue, but
wow. It was January of 15.
All right, that's it. Whatever. It's a long time. We appreciate you all. We hope to see you again soon. But for now, from Daniel, from Anton, Lonnie, Ken, and myself, and the whole KissFAQ crew, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.